What's up, everybody? I'm Gina G, and welcome to another episode of Reppin' with Gina G. This one is Reppin' Da Overreaction because we are overreacting to the Week 2 game against the Seattle Seahawks. But just a quick rundown. This is a show where I rep my teams by the bay, and this is an episode where I rep my 49ers. So let's get right into it. I'll be joined by my 49ers fam. This episode, I'm going to have Ted and Melissa. And if you don't know them, then you are new to 49ers Twitter. So welcome, Melissa and Ted. And then I'm bringing on my co-conspirator, the guy that runs the ship Driving to the Top Productions, Adam.
Hey,
what's up, everybody?
Good to be here.
Thanks for having me.
Ted, nice seeing you again.
Is that an Elisha jersey behind you? Or did you buy somebody else with the 25? I've been dying to ask.
It's an Eric Davis jersey.
Okay.
It's got the 75 on it too. For the throwback 94.
He did it to suck up to me. No, I'm just kidding.
Absolutely. I had to get a Niner jersey if I'm doing a show, right?
Right, exactly.
I don't know if I'm ever gonna wear it though, but I have one.
Hey, maybe if you guys get 1,000 subscribers, you could give it away as a giveaway or something.
That would be amazing. Oh my gosh.
They don't have to get a Super Bowl jersey, right?
Right?
I think I would just send it to Gina before I got myself one though. Actually, Gina's back in the working force now, so she can get her in.
Well, I've got a surprise coming too. I am going to have a giveaway soon. So, and that's going to be introduced tomorrow. I will get to that more. I got to talk to my my good friend there, Adam. Okay. I'm glad to have you all here on this overreaction show because so much went down. And if anyone wants to join us in the live chat, please do, because we love having you on. And we're used to having Melissa in the chat room, and I know she's so good about being in everyone's chat because she's just the pretty much the marketing manager of everybody's podcast, pretty much. So we love you. Okay, so it's just only right that you come on the show. So I was at the game on Sunday, and it was the home opener. I know that personally for me, when I saw Trey Lance stay on the field just a minute longer than you see it. It's wait a minute, and my friend that was sitting next to me, he goes, that's Trey. And I went, no. And he said, yeah. And I was like, oh my God. And then when we saw the cart coming out, pretty much right away, we were felt gutted. Someone just knocked us the hell out, just like a gut punch. Mm-hmm. And there was an eerie sort of silence in the stadium. And people were just like, oh my God, oh my God. And I heard two things going around. I heard concussion, and I heard like a foot sprain or ankle sprain or something like that. And then the guy next to me, because it was still early, then the guy looks next to us. He goes, hey, they're saying something about his right ankle or, something like that. And we were like, oh God, please don't let it be season ending, But that's kind of, oh, and Debbie said, you're right, so much happened. Thanks, Deb. Yeah, it's like
Hi,
and
Mama Deb.
Deb. And one of the things that we were going to talk about, because we have some, 49ers Twitter was going crazy. I know that in the parking lot after the game, we were talking crazy, and I know I was blaming Kyle Shanahan. I admit it. I was blaming Kyle Shanahan. I said, he's running Trey Lance into the ground. What's he thinking? What's he doing? We were all blaming Kyle Shanahan, okay? We were saying that, and not so much that he did it on purpose, but like, what the hell was Shanny thinking? Okay. Then, and not because he wants Jimmy to be quarterback, but it was just that whole like first mind thinking, like, okay, there goes our season of this kid trying to prove himself. He hasn't, like he has the keys to the franchise. Jimmy was clearly going to be either not on the team, but he ended up staying and being a second string. Like, it's just bizarre how this all kind of came together. And Jimmy goes out, finishes the series of the plays, and then like scores a touchdown and kind of like plays a hero, and then kind of misses some plays there, like some overthrows, like, okay, back to old Jimmy, like not that Juwan Jennings should have caught that, but he overthrew a couple times here and there, and
Juwan Jennings not short at all.
Yeah. And then I was like, okay, but then he quarterback sneaks and all this other crap. And I'm just like, okay, we win. And I just want to point out, you guys, that in my last show, I said Niners by 20. And I say that every time I go to a home game. Yeah. And I was right. Okay. But with that being said, let's go ahead and start off with the first topic / question. And this is for everybody. Let's just get into the controversy. Was Trey Lance run into the ground?
Ted?
Yes. I mean, I was saying it before the game. I felt like we ran him too much in Arizona. We ran him too much at the beginning of the Texans game. I felt like we ran him too much in the Chicago game to start the season. Some of the plays were designed runs. Like there was earlier, before he got injured, there was a 3rd and 6, and I was watching it with my dad, and I said, hey, my dad said, oh, we're going to get to see Trey throw here. I said, no, I think this might be a QB draw up the middle. And sure enough, he did, and he got 7 yards. He got the first down. So, I think there were too many designed runs and also too many option plays that were likely to end up with Trey keeping the ball and running. So yeah, that's my opinion. You have to run him some. Yeah. I'm not going to say we shouldn't run him at all, but
right. Quick hello to the wise soul in the chat. That's my boy. What up? And Niner Mike says that, and I agree with Niner Mike. He says that's the problem with QB design runs for Trey Lance. He ain't a runner. He's mobile. There's a difference. I totally agree with that. And then there was, if you guys saw, there was a misquote that from Kyle Shanahan that he had to like clarify, and it was about Lamar Jackson, what he had said previously, that Trey Lance isn't like, he wasn't going to be like Lamar Jackson. And I guess, I get it, he's not, you don't want to send your mobile QB out there to get, into terror, to get beat up by a bunch of, defensive linemen. But look, it's just crazy to me. You have him not even finishing the first quarter, and he's out for the season. And luckily it wasn't an ACL tear, It's just the emotions, and we got another comment. The RPOs don't bother me as much as the QB draws do. I mean, yes, the field was open, but that's going right into the teeth of the D. Melissa, what do you think?
Okay, so I've been pissed off for like a good 36 hours, and that's mostly because of my brother. He's a disgusting, obnoxious Packer fan. So he had come in right when that injury had happened, right? And I'm trying to stream this on Get Playback because my friend Brandon from Forever Faithful podcast is streaming the games for all the out of area fans. And he had just come in to like walk the dogs because the Niners were on F4 and he was on F8. And he started actually giggling like the second the car came out, and I lost my ever-loving mind. Like it was bad enough like he was being carted off, and when they get carted off, it's not for like some rinky-dinky reason. Like normally if they're allowed to, they try to like help them walk off, or they walk off themselves, and then you find out later they were walking off with like an ACL tear or something.
Mm-hmm.
So when he came in and he started laughing, and he goes, I don't want you to put the bad voodoo jinx on my team later on. I was laughing because I know how much you hate Jimmy, and Jimmy's coming out on the field. Like, you don't laugh when someone's injured like that. Like, you don't wish injury, or you delight in someone's misery over an injury like that. So, as for the running thing, how do I put this? It's not anything new, sadly. This has been an issue since preseason last year. It got really bad in the Lions game, and like we didn't know really about the finger injury still being an issue, so it kind of made sense then.
Mm-hmm.
Like even the Cardinals game last year, the Texans game, like those kind of games kind of made sense because he had hand injury. Right now his hand is perfectly healthy, so it didn't really make sense to me why we keep running him up the middle. And yes, it was an RPO, so he had the option of running and not running. But right now there's an emphasis on running Trey. So I don't really blame the coach, and I don't really blame the quarterback. I think it's that Kyle thing where he likes to keep everything like 5 steps ahead of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So he always says like he's doing this, and this play to set up this further on. So even if he gets like negative yards now, it's gonna help later. Like he's always in that chess match, and he's always in his head. And I think that sometimes he's such an obvious like genius OC that he kind of forgets to be a head coach. And I think that he wants to like really prove that he can do the Josh Allens and the Lamar Jacksons and run up the middles. But the smart thing of how they run their quarterbacks is mostly outside. So I think he got it kind of cute, and I think he was kind of saving the Danny Grays and the big deep ball games for like the Rams, and the bigger games where he was like thinking more like these are the big games I want to save this for, and not give them any clues to what is going to come.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a freak injury. It sucks. I don't really think there's someone to blame.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I hope that this is devastating enough where they finally learn you have to take more care with Trey and not set him up for these situations where these freak injuries happen.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking, like in the future, because Jimmy had, true enough, he had the torn ACL, but
Jimmy kind of did that to himself. Like, let's be honest. They backed off, letting him run outside, and he's like, okay, well, now they're backing off. I'm going to juke back outside and try to force myself to get a few more yards and make something out of nothing. Like, he had lost the Vikings game. He had struggled against the Lions, and he was not doing well against the Chiefs. And, he just planted wrong in that leg, and then the tear happened. So I think Jimmy deserves the blame for his own injury, whereas I don't really think Trey deserves the injury because it was one of those freaky things. He went for a run, he fell, and sometimes when you fall, even if it's not MetLife, just sometimes your leg collapses on you and tears happen. And thankfully there was no real bad damage like people were worrying about nerve damage or muscle damage or the bone being pulled off the muscle, and like they thought it was going to be fibula and a tibia injury on top of the ankle. So
Right.
it
I'm just,
sucks. But
yeah,
he's
I was just
young,
wondering.
and
Yeah.
I think we're healthy enough where we can make still a decent run. But I hope things change.
Yeah. I was just thinking about, because, the 49ers have had such, well, Jimmy, always having that, like, with a high ankle sprain, and then he had this shoulder, and then this, it's like there was always
But
something. And
they're two very different athletes. Like,
yeah.
granted, one's
Trey's
much
still
younger,
young.
one's
Trey's
much
still young. Yeah.
well, granted, there's the age difference. So one's really old, one's really young. But there's a different mental and devotion to the actual
Mhm.
game. Whereas in Jimmy, they had all the stories come out about how he blew them off as soon as he got his payday in 2017. You kind
Yeah.
of see that as a repetitive thing, even in season. If it's not an active practice or he doesn't have to be traveling or doing press with the team, he kind of goes to his players, even when his players kind of like, well, do you want to do this, and this in practice? Or do you want to do this, and this? And they're like, he doesn't take our calls. He doesn't text us back. He doesn't even answer us when we ask him, did you get the message or whatever? Like, this is who he has been. It hasn't changed, and I don't think it's ever going to change. Whereas in Trey has gone and he's had athletes come out and fly out with him. He's worked out with River Craycraft and other old receivers while he's also working with the new receivers. He stays after practice. Even when he knew he wasn't going to be played last year, he would be there the entire time, reading everything off his wrist and comparing it to what was on the field. He'd be consulting different guys on the sideline while watching the game and watching the rest and trying to see how it's supposed to translate to the field. So I don't think that Trey's going to have that mental hiccup where he can't come back.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I have a fear of is them not using him the right way and not developing him, because they're so egocentric, and they're thinking that they're so much better than all these other people, so they don't have to do this, and this when it's necessary.
And so, wanted to ask about this whole, like, blame, who the blame goes on and everything like that, because that was such a huge thing. I mean, and Adam, feel free to jump in too. Like, why was the fan base putting so much blame on Shanahan? Because I know that, like, I was watching a live on Instagram with Eric Davis, and and he was just like, come on, guys, you think Shanahan did it on purpose? But I was just wondering, like, what anyone else, like, what is it warranted? And if not, like, who is to blame? Was it, like Izzy said, a freak accident?
I mean, I definitely think it was a freak accident. I just think that it could have been avoided with less running. I think that, Kyle didn't try to get Lance hurt. I would never say that.
Yeah.
I think he just ignored warning signs that Lance only slid once out of every time I ever saw him run, at least a traditional slide where you slide and you don't take any risk, any contact, whereas a feet first slide, I only recall ever seeing one, and that was against Green Bay in the preseason game. And I even tweeted, I was like, oh my God, he can slide, because I was wondering if he even could or knew how. I'm pretty sure he did several head first slides, but those are a lot riskier. Because if somebody decides to go low and spear you, that's like going to be helmet to helmet type of situation. So like, I don't want to, I'm not like saying fire Kyle Shanahan or anything like that. I've heard a lot of people talk like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's ridiculous, especially because, I mean, if you're mad at Kyle for running, which I am upset with him for running Trey too much, in my opinion. I mean, you have to also be happy that he kept Jimmy G, which I'll be honest, I was unhappy about. I thought it was a bad decision. I thought that 13, because everybody talks about the 6.5 to what is it? $17 million
Mhm.
contract, but there was a $13.99 million cap hit for that. And I just really thought that could be better suited going to offensive line or a running back or a tight end
Yeah.
or safety or some of these areas where we thought we might have weaknesses. But ultimately now it's turned out to be a really great idea to keep Jimmy G. I was wrong, so I've said that multiple times, but I'll say it again. And so if I'm mad at him for running Lance too much, I have to be a little less mad because he kept Jimmy G as a good backup, maybe the best possible backup plan for us.
You know what I was mad about? How, just he lets Jimmy throw the ball. Let Lance throw the ball.
And Lance made some great passes against Chicago. I mean, he had at least three just absolute dimes. One to a wide open Ayuk, one that he layered into Ray McLeod into triple coverage, and then the deep one to Jennings were all
Mhm.
just absolutely beautiful passes in
Yeah.
the rain.
Right.
So yeah, I was
Can you
expecting to
just say the
see.
Jennings one more time, please?
Oh, the deep one to Jennings down the sideline.
Yeah.
What did I say? An absolute dime? I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't know. It's just I'm so used to everyone still hating on Jawan Jennings. It's just nice whenever I hear a compliment for Jawan
Oh,
Jennings.
I
Oh my
like
God.
him.
Well, and I tweeted, Juwan held on, because he had troubles with drops last season and in the
He didn't
preseason.
have any problems with drops last season. That's the thing. Like
Oh, he
people
did
forget.
though. He
People
had a
forget that.
16%
He was
drop rate.
in against like Philly in the beginning of the year. Then Snow came in, and then Snow got hurt, and then you got sprinkled back in a little bit. But then they were still using Travis Benjamin. They were still trying to like jangle Trent Sherfield in here, there, whatever. Like
Debo
Juwan,
had a
that
lot
was
of
really his like
drops.
first year last year, and then
Yeah, I get it. But Debo had a lot of drops at 9%, and Jennings was 16%. So per pass, he was dropping a lot. Now, granted, he did catch a ton of first downs and a ton of TDs. So maybe some of the ones he dropped weren't that significant. I just remember a couple. I was at the Atlanta game at Levi's, the Falcons game, and I remember a couple that were in our within our 30-yard line or maybe even within our 20 that scared the heck out of me. But somehow our defense held them to 3 both times. Or maybe it was nothing. I think they went for it. And they ended up with nothing. But it was a dangerous place to give up the ball, certainly in the shadow of your own goalpost. So, but yeah, I mean, yes, Jennings had a couple nice catches that game in Chicago, but especially I think it was like a 36 or 40 yarder down the sideline. It was beautiful.
Why does it seem like the newspapers loved Jimmy G and hated Trey Lance? Like every article I've read is
It's those
like
media people like Colin Coward.
Well, we know why Colin Coward doesn't like.
Yeah, we do.
Right,
okay,
right?
well,
I mean,
so
he dated Colin's daughter,
Adam might not know.
and it didn't
Ted.
go well.
I don't even
'cause
think I read
Colin-
anything about Colin Coward on this whole thing. I didn't even bother to
Oh
read
no!
it.
Okay,
Well, Colin and Trey Lance dated Colin's daughter, and it didn't go well, and he assumably dumped her. And so now, and Colin at first was pro Trey, and then all of a sudden he turned on a dime, and he was just like, "Oh, Trey Lance is terrible. Jimmy G's better." Every chance he could get, he was slandering Trey Lance.
I guess you got to stick up for your family, though, right?
Oh, I'm not blaming him for.
Can I
Especially
put
your
my
own-
2 cents in here?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I'm not gonna touch Colin Cowherd and that whole Mike Silver nonsense because they're like bros and they're just having each other's back and whatever the reason that they turned. I think national media itself is more against Trey specifically because they'll put their names and their stamp on saying that we traded up to 3 and they almost like 99.9 guaranteed percent, like especially on ESPN they said it was like 99.89% or whatever nonsense stat they had saying it was going to be Mac Jones, that there was no other guy. And then anyone who said it was maybe Fields, they were like, no, the only ones they considered were Mac Jones and Trey Lance, and that they even admitted that Trey Lance was looked at, but then they were proven wrong. They've had a huge Niner beef ever since then.
Mm-hmm.
And with Stephen A being the flagship person on said network and him trademarking that whole crappy, porn star Jimmy thing, like it's their favorite storyline. Like they can keep
Yeah.
getting Niner fans to listen in, to
all-
retweet them, to
It's all
add them, to
disrespectful.
hold receipts, to constantly be talking about them. So national media doesn't really have to be unbiased when it comes to Niner fans, because Niner fans are so passionate and loyal and defensive that they're gonna talk about them, whether they praise them or they don't praise them, or they believe in them or they don't believe them. Like to this day, Adam Rank is known wide over by the Niner fans because he had that crappy 3-13 prediction for
Yeah.
the 2019 season, and whether it was warranted or not, it became a big deal. Like there wasn't one person that didn't know who the hell Adam Rank was because it just went viral. So
Mm-hmm.
I still don't know who this guy
Yeah,
is.
they figured out that they could get clicks by saying
he
bad
was
things about
some
Lance.
nobody that was on the NFL Network, and he was allowed to go on like what Total Access and just do score predictions for everybody. And then he got infamous again this year because he's a Bears fan, so he had us losing to the Bears, and then everyone was calling him out. And yeah, he ended up being right, but it's just.
I think NFL Outdated is having him on his show. Now that
Oh,
you say
really?
now that you say the name, I'm like, wait, I heard this. Now that you said the name, I was putting my pieces together. And then you said the Bears, and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, Adam
Wait a minute.
Rank. He's having
Yeah.
Adam Rank. That's funny. That's funny. I'll watch that then. But yeah, I mean, then
And as for the warranted thing, I don't think any of it's warranted actually. Like you can have your blame game, you can hate the coach, and you can think that he's not good enough to be a coach, and you think that he's only good at an offense quarter, and all those opinions are valid. But this fan base, and I've been around this fan base for about 3 years now, is very knee jerky, and they're very crazy every time there's a loss or there's a setback or there's an injury, and there's name calling and there's bullying and there's so much toxicity, and it's really sad at this point. But even with the Houston game, like the loss happened, and I was happy about it because I didn't like the whole curse that comes with being perfect in the preseason. And I also liked that we were behind, so I gave some of these younger names that whole test of real life situations where you're playing from behind and seeing how you're going to do under pressure.
Mhm.
And we got to see Brock Purdy kind of fail, but you still got to have that situation where it was on his shoulders. He could play either hero ball or he could play smart ball, and he tried to make something out of nothing. And I think those situations are needed for the development of these younger players. So, but I remember the first thing I logged on to Twitter to talk and check up on a few people in DMs, and then the hashtag fire Chris Forster was everywhere. And then the whole, the constant, why did we have 3 All-Pros for Jimmy, but what you don't have 3 All-Pros for Trey? And it was like the whole thing. Like every time that there's something remotely bad that happens, this fan base gets really crazy, and it really breaks my heart because there are really good people who take what national media and the podcasters and these really big names around the fan base seriously, and then they could take it to heart, and they kind of get themselves worked up and emotionally and mentally off their rocker because they love this team so much, but there's just so much bad being put out there just for clicks that it really does hurt. It really upset me sometimes how people just delight in spreading misery for no good reason.
I think another thing that led to the whole anti-Trey agenda, honestly, I think this is something y'all have to consider when you're watching, listening, tweeting with people, arguing. So many people just don't watch what they're talking about. They just see a box score, or they see a highlight or a low light,
And
and they make a snap
and
decision.
how many games he's had since high school.
Yeah,
that
no, it's
is
that.
always thrown around like crazy.
It's that.
Like,
It's a low completion percentage, but it's also the flip side of it. Why they like Jimmy is, his QB wins. because Jimmy is, like a 68%, QB win percentage,
And
and they
it's
don't
easy to
understand.
lump him in with Mullins and Beathard and how we haven't done well without Jimmy at the helm. So
Well, especially because when Mullins and Beathard played, a lot of the time we didn't have Bosa or he was injured. We didn't have Debo or he was injured. Kittle was injured. Ford, we didn't have him or he was injured. So there's a lot of other guys that were either out or not here yet when Jimmy was out.
Yeah.
So that win percentage without Jimmy is super artificially low because of that. And yeah, and so and it's hard to know what Jimmy's QB win percentage would be on another team because he only played 2 games for the Patriots and he won both of them. So people just automatically assume that he's a winner, but ultimately, I'll tell you, I don't think he is on a team that doesn't have as good of a run game, as good of a defense, as good of a weapons as what the Niners have. I was sure that if we traded him, that percentage was going to go down.
Sure. And here's a question. I'm going to skip over one of them because I think they're going to tie in together. Um, and let me start off by saying this, because after the game, my brothers, I was there with my family, me and my brothers and all their friends who are my brothers essentially, we were talking about Jimmy, how he's like the toxic ex who moved out, and maybe we moved out and we just signed a lease, okay?
Mhm.
And they said, no, no, no. Oh, I want to get back together. We're good together. And we just did not learn our lesson. And we said, God, we did have some good times, didn't we? Yeah, we did. I know we can make it this time. And it's just like, but our hearts are probably gonna get broken again. So that's how we felt about this Jimmy G situation. Like, we're going to go through it. We're going to go through a whole fucking season. We're going to get our hearts broken at the end of the season. Like, don't get your hopes up, because we're going to go through, we're going to be winning games, we're going to lose a couple games, we're going to get to the playoffs, and then right at the end, we're going to oh God, here is Jimmy in the most crucial moment, what's going to happen? And it's like that with the toxic ex, like, God damn it, all my energy is being drained, and so that's like the best analogy that I could come up with. So now, like, will he get respect if he gets, if he wins a Super Bowl? I don't even care if he wins MVP or whatnot, I don't care. I also had this question up there too, like, what's more important, him winning games or stats? Because we already know that he, quote, wins games, even though we know he helps the 49ers win games. He doesn't straight up, win them. We know defense, it does a lot, and we have one of the best defenses. So what do you guys think?
I think Brandon Ayuk's going to have a fun fantasy year now.
I don't. Brandon is very, very vocal about Trey, so I think Brandon's going to suffer again.
Yeah, I really wanted to see Brandon with Lance because Lance throws deep and outside the numbers, and that's where Brandon really excels. I mean, I still think he'll do well. He was our leading receiver against the Seahawks, and that was with that big drop. I mean, Jimmy did have it hit him on the hands. I mean, it was over against the sideline, deep left, and Brandon had to go down to a knee to get his hands on it, but he did get his hands on it. So I would say that was a ball he should have caught, or I did tweet that. But yeah, I do think Brandon Ayuk would have done better with Lance than he'll do with Jimmy. But I still think he might do well because he's just become that dominant receiver. Like, I know Jimmy Ward was talking about his experience in camp and preseason and trying to cover Brandon Ayuk one-on-one. And he said he literally didn't do it once. And Jimmy Ward is probably our best man cover, defensive back.
Was this Jimmy's first game?
This was Jimmy's first game. Yeah, Jimmy didn't get signed until August 29th.
So he didn't play any preseason.
No preseason, no camp, no preseason, no practice. He didn't have the playbook till August 29th, so he's had it for less than 3 weeks. That's why his performance, while it wasn't awe-inspiring at face value on Sunday, when you take the context into consideration, it was actually pretty amazing how well he did.
Yeah.
And especially also when you consider that we had a really limited playbook because like 80% of the plays weren't suitable for Jimmy to run. They were all built for Lance. So there's, a lot of reasons to be happy about the performance Jimmy gave us on Sunday for sure.
So you're asking, do we think that he'll get respect if he wins a Super Bowl? My answer is slightly biased, but I don't really like 10 at all. But I think for most fans, they just want to see a championship no matter what. A lot of fans weren't even born when this last championship was played. I was born then, but I wasn't like old enough to appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like I fell in love with the Niners because of Steve Young and Jerry Rice. To me, they were like Superman, Batman. So like, and I live in Jersey, so I wasn't really into the Giants and the Cowboys and everything else that was crazy here. But for a lot of fans, I believe that what they want is just to see the six happen. You know, they've had 2 lost Super Bowls. They've had a few lost championships where they thought that it was their game, and then just like the fluky stuff happened with Kyle Williams or the Navarro Bowman injury or the Jaquiski Tart interception or just like some random thing that they've gotten close a bunch of times, but it's just never gone all the way through.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of those fans, whether they like the quarterback or not, they're going to just be happy if they can get there or they can get close again. And they might get angrier because they think that he'll cost it. But for me, personally, it changes nothing. I mean, will it be nice to have another ring? Yes. But it's not going to change my opinion on Jimmy because I think that all my issues are going to be reinforced. And whether he wins or not, like he'll be up there with Montana Young as a winning quarterback. But I don't like that he puts guys in danger. I don't like that he's trying to do with Jawan Jennings what he did with George Kittle and throw these incredibly dangerous, psychotic hospital balls where even when they're tall, it's still 2 feet above them and they have to jump and put their bodies in vulnerable positions where they can't protect themselves at all, trying to do and carry Jimmy because he has all these limitations and they're going to get their knees bent in like they did against Buda Baker twice and hyperextend themselves and get these serious injuries where now all these people are calling him George Brittle and all this other crap and all this other nonsense because they're just trying to be good teammates and carry the team and make up for their quarterback's limitations. So is it going to change my opinion? No. But would it be nice to have the team win? Yeah. So I'm rooting on the team. I'm hoping they can get there, but that's just my take on it.
Yeah, I think it'll be. I think first of all, Izzy, I don't think Jimmy's doing that on purpose. I think he's just that inaccurate.
I really do think it is because think about how many times he throws it into the ground or he throws it too high, like. Even
I don't think he's
the Michael
trying to...
Hasty thing, like, you know how short this guy is. Like, how the hell did you think this little tiny running back is going to be able to go up for that ball? Like, they're just, like, I get he's not accurate, and I know he's trying to make something out of nothing, but when it's that much of a pattern and when it's that much overthrown certain guys had repeatedly over and over and over again, and Kyle and Jimmy both respectively expect them to make something out of nothing, and then they get blamed for not catching the ball when it's like them wide open and nobody else is around and it's still that high. It's crazy to me. Like,
Steven here has a comment and I totally agree with it, that he doesn't think Jimmy will get respect, and the narrative is already set. because the 49ers have always been known for their excellent defense, and we've always had a strong running game. And the fact is, Jimmy
He's
is
not wrong though. Like
no,
even
that's what I'm saying.
2019, like when we were winning, and
Jimmy's no Joe Montana and no Jerry Rice. I mean,
But-
Steve Young. So
2019 when we were the prohibitive favorites, when we were undefeated for so long, when we were in the championship, when we had the first seed and everything, even then, when it came down to the NFL honors, Jimmy Garoppolo was coming off that big ACL tear. Did he even win comeback player of the year? They gave it to Ryan freaking Tannehill, who wasn't even injured, because Jimmy Garoppolo had no respect around the league. Like,
yeah,
I mean, ultimately, if you win a Super Bowl, you're a Super Bowl winning quarterback. They can't take that away.
they don't even respect Trent Dilfer or the guy that won it for the Bucks in
Brad
2002.
Johnson.
Like,
they looped Flacco in there, but Flacco actually played really well in those playoffs and against us. So I wouldn't consider Flacco, but Brad Johnson.
Eli
Trent
Manning has
Dilfer.
2, and a lot of people still shit on Eli Manning. So
I
Nick
do.
Foles,
I shit on him.
Nick Foles from Philadelphia gets that treatment. But here's the deal, though. I mean, there is a way he could do it, which is if the defense is injured or the running game is injured and he really steps up. There have been a few games that he's actually won for us. I mean, you can probably count them on one hand. Out of 50 starts, you probably got 5 or 6. So if
I'd be
he
curious to
has one of
hear
those,
which ones you think he won.
well, I mean, I would start top of the list. I would say the New Orleans Saints game.
Yeah.
In 2019, where it was 48-46.
That's the first one I thought of.
The one thing I would take away from Jimmy in that one was that Emmanuel Sanders threw one of the TDs to Mostert.
To Mostert, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, ultimately,
you can give two of those touchdowns for him,
TDs.
because remember he had that early one in the beginning of the game where he fell down, realized no one had touched him, and then ran it all the way in. Like,
and the pass to Emmanuel Sanders was ugly as hell, and that's why the guy fell down and he ended up going the distance. But ultimately, Jimmy threw 4 TDs and had 1 interception, 375 yards. Like, that was like his showcase game, in my opinion.
And then the Green Bay game that I watched at home, the Thursday night.
Yeah,
Thursday night
2019.
Week
Yeah, he
12?
played pretty well.
Are you talking about the Week 12 37-8
where he hit Kittle? He hit Kittle deep, and he had
Kittle,
TD.
yeah, and
Kittle for a
Sanders,
deep TD. He had
and
Thielen
Sanders,
for a nice
yeah.
cross. Yeah. Jimmy played pretty well there. I would say
a few and far between for sure.
like 5 or 6. But if he has one of those games in the Super Bowl itself, or to get us there,
where he does just enough and he keeps the ball moving,
just enough, yeah.
Or maybe more. He has
good
one
enough,
of those
Jimmy. You know what they called him the other night? Jim Reaper, because he came back from the dead.
Jim Reaper.
I still hate that we're giving him any guaranteed money.
Undertaker. Well, so yeah, I don't think it's likely. I wouldn't bet on it, especially because I don't really trust Jimmy against really strong defenses or really strong teams in general. Really good QBs on the other side, and that's pretty much all you run into in the playoffs. But I mentioned in an article that I wrote recently that I still think we can win the Super Bowl. I just think everything has to go a lot more perfectly than it would have with Lance, where you've got the 11-on-11, you've got one defender playing Lance, which automatically just means less guys, defending whoever ends up with the ball in a run play. And, he's got the big arm. He can throw out deep and outside the numbers. And I was pretty sure that by the end of the season, if he had played all season, that he would have gotten better at those short and intermediate throws too, to where he would have just been easily hands down better than Jimmy G by the playoffs. But
what makes me worried, and we already know what Jimmy's going to do or not do. Like, we've had a big enough sample size. What makes me worried is in 2019, we rotated our running backs. We would go with the hot hand, but we would use like 2 or 3 running backs normally during a game. And we had George, and we had a healthy, mostly tight end room. Right now, we don't have a healthy tight end room. We don't have a healthy running back room. And for some reason, we're running these guys until they break, and then we're kind of scrambling for running backs and tight ends now. And we've been doing it a lot the last 3 years. And I mean, 2020, yeah, everybody was injured, but still, as soon as the Super Bowl was lost, it feels like we kind of gave up, and we're just gonna use these guys till they break, and then we're gonna go on to the next guys, or get a bunch of guys that have been off of teams for a while, and hoping to make do with a bunch of used up vets. And it's just, it really breaks my heart, because you get a lot of people who are giving up on these guys, whether it's Elijah Mitchell or Charlie Warner, or these guys that are kind of doing the hard grunt work, and then they're being used up, and then they're being blamed as injury prone or something. But it's really not their fault. When week 3 last year, we didn't have anybody that was healthy besides Trey Sherman and Kyle Juszczyk, and we were just using Kyle Juszczyk as our only running back. Like, these things keep happening, and I wish they would address it, but they still haven't, and I'm hoping that something gives, you know?
Well, we did draft Ty Davis Price in the 3rd round, and we picked up Jordan Mason as a undrafted free agent. So we had 2.
Yeah, but
rookie
we're
running
not
backs.
using Mason, and Ty Davis Price is hurt, and now we're calling up Marlon Mack, but now Tyler Kroft is injured, and Charlie Warner's coming off an injury, and they don't really use him aside to use him as a runner. I mean, a blocker. And Ross Dwelly, for some reason, even though we brought in the George Odoms and the Ray McLeods and all these guys that were supposed to be the special team must-haves that our special team coach was in love with, we're still using Ross Dwelly, and he's still giving up touchdowns and big plays on special teams. So it's just, at some time, I would like the team to move on from their favorites and to just give these new guys a shot. You know, like last week, 2 weeks ago, Elijah Mitchell got injured, and we still didn't play Jordan Mason. Like, you had him dressed. Like, you had an injury. There was just cause to give him a shot. You were down. It wasn't like you were gonna spoil a lead or anything. And it's just like, why didn't you just, even for one series, give the guy a chance? Like, there are just certain things besides the quarterback that are frustrating, and just, you want to hope and you want to believe in your team and that they know what they're doing, but at the same time, you're like, I really hate to see these guys just never get a shot, or to keep getting injured because they're using up the same guys over and over and over again.
Well, Kittle should be back this week. He was very close to playing on Sunday. So that'll take care of Tyler Kroft. Warner's healthy now. Dwelly's healthy. So we got 3 solid tight ends. As far as Jordan Mason goes, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him again this weekend, if it's mostly Jeff Wilson Jr. and Marlon Mack, because they're vets, because they're known quantities. And Kyle, as much as possible, is going to always want to, give the rookies as much time to get ready as possible before he puts them into action. I think he would redshirt every rookie he ever drafted if he could. And so I think that's what he's trying to do, is just protect him, so that when he does come in, he'll be successful and not, get scarred by, early defeats and early, mishaps.
Yeah, but this is not just like any week. This is Mile High. This is up in the mountains. This is a really thin air primetime game where Jeff Wilson has been struggling a little bit, and you really don't want to break any more of your running backs, especially in a environment like Mile High, which is harder on someone who has to keep grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding over and over and over again. So yeah, I don't understand why you wouldn't use the fresh legs and the younger guy in that kind of situation.
And maybe he will. Maybe I'm wrong. I just think he tends to favor vets. He worries about rookies making rookie mistakes. And yeah, I mean, we'll see. That Mile High, you're right. That would be another reason for more
Sunday night
fresh
football.
people.
Yeah, Sunday night football. I can't wait.
I'm excited.
Wait.
I mean,
I can't wait for both games. They're both night games, so everyone gets to watch.
I always worry about, Jimmy versus Russ, but I think our team is good enough. I mean,
hey, do we have any update on that? Patrick Surtain and
they're both day to day.
Both got hurt.
Both day to day was what I saw. So yeah, Judy hurt his shoulder, and I don't recall. Maybe Sertan was shoulder too. Were they both shoulders?
I got Judy on one of my.
Jerry Judy was a sternum injury.
Sternum.
Sternum and rib injury.
Then Sertan must have been shoulder.
Yeah.
And they were both day to day, which means I think they'll both play. I mean,
Well, thanks you guys for being on the show. We've got another one coming up. And then tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a preview of the 49ers versus Broncos Sunday Night Football team right here on Reppin' with Gina G. Do not miss it. I'm going to have a couple of guests. CG Ruthless will be with me. So don't miss that. And don't forget to hit the like button, you guys, and comment,
Adam,
subscribe.
you're a Steelers fan, right?
Yes, he is.
So what are your thoughts on you guys playing on Thursday on a short week?
Um,
I feel guilty because you haven't really talked, so I just had to ask real quick before things ended.
Well, they're both coming off of bad losses. It's in Cleveland, and I think the Cleveland team's going to be really more pissed off than we are. And I think we're going to see Pickett by the third quarter.
Pickens?
Pickett.
Kenny Pickett.
Oh, Pickett.
Their rookie QB.
I was like, Pickens? He's on my bench.
I just feel that, it's coming, and I just think this Cleveland team's going to be all fired up after that devastating loss of the Jets. But we didn't have a good loss either. We did not have a good loss either. We can't get offense rolling right now, and it's very frustrating just in general watching this.
So we might see Pickett to Pickens.
I would love to see it all season from here on out, but I'm not the coach. I'm not the coach, but I mean they need a spark. There's no spark with Mitch Trubisky.
Money Mitch.
Is that what they call him?
Mockingly. Yeah.
I hope the Steelers win. Obviously, I want to win. I want to win every game, of course. I did pick them to beat the Patriots, but obviously Tom's team beat us. So
I think it was probably only because TJ Watt was out, right? I mean, I think if you have TJ Watt, I think that's a totally different game.
Isn't Najee Harris still hurt and came here weird? Also got banged up against the Bengals.
Najee played.
Yeah, he had a decent game. They're gonna run him to the ground too.
Yeah.
They keep running all these stupid screen passes and short passes, and it's very boring football to watch, actually. But I don't feel like really ripping my Steelers right now. But when you have a coach that doesn't get too excited about stuff, and everyone falls for the schematics and the big talking words that are real low and real boring, and there's just no excitement anymore. Like I say it every week probably. This town's fallen into a middle of the pack, and they're okay with it as long as we're not below 500. I think it's garbage. I grew up in the city of champions, and right now we're city of above 500.
So you weren't excited at all that you got TJ Watson nearly beat Strahan's record in less games than Strahan pulled it off, and he didn't have to pay for any of those sacks.
I mean, it's exciting. It's just
it's not Steelers football.
He'd rather win.
I'd rather win. I'd rather win. I hate. I don't know. I don't like really losing. It's like asking you guys if you guys enjoy losing on Sunday, Monday, or Thursday. And I guarantee you're all going to say no. We don't want to.
Actually, I'm kind of one of those weird fans that I've actually enjoyed some of our worst seasons. So I enjoyed 2018 because George Kittle broke the record, and I enjoyed 2020 because I liked seeing the no-name defenders kind of like stand up and still ball out with All-Pro Fred. So I enjoyed the Jordan Willis's, the Jamar Andrew Taylors, the Tavarius Moores, the Jordan Willis's, and so I'm kind of like the weird fan that enjoys those kind of silver
No,
lining
that's cool.
things that nobody else really appreciates. So I'm a different kind of fan.
No, that's cool. I mean, that's how I am with the
Just as long
Warriors.
as you're not talking about quarterback, right?
Yeah, I wanted CJ Beathard more that year than Nick Mullins, but that's neither here nor there. And I kind of hated when
CJ Beathard did better too.
I kind of hated when your fellow Steeler fan Stephen A. Smith was making a mockery of my team by re-showing over and over and over again the stupid Nick Mullins putting the freaking pylon back at MetLife. Like that was a big storyline. Like, who gives a crap when Nick Bosa was injured and Solomon Thomas was injured and Raheem Mostert was injured and Jimmy was injured, and they're making a mockery of Nick Mullins taking the freaking pylon and making MetLife neat. So
I called it Met Death after that.
Yeah, really.
I actually walked on that field because my dad's a diehard Giants fan, and we were there this year when Evan Neal and Sauce and all those guys were picked in the first round. Because the Jets and Giants both had 2 picks each, and I cannot stress enough how disgusting that field is. Even my father, who has made a mockery of the Niner fans and Niner players and everybody making fun of MetLife 2 years ago, walked on that field for the first time and he goes, "This is god awful. How do these guys play on this week in and week out?"
Yeah. It's like a death trap.
Well, and it was sticky that day too. That was the real thing. Everybody's feet were sticking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was back-to-back games there with the Jets and Giants. It was just, God, I hate that stadium so much.
Oh, it got hot in here.
Sounds like
This
you need
room
the air
is hot.
conditioner on.
Yeah, this room is hot.
Well, I wish your Steelers luck against the Browns because I have no love for the Browns.
Yeah, I'm rooting for my Steelers, obviously. I know I won't be able to watch the game until probably the second half. I know I'm going to get stuck at work. And when you work in a restaurant and
the
people
game's
are-
on.
yeah, it's really hard to watch. So, like on Sundays when I work, I just ride around listen to Sirius Radio. It's close as I'm getting to my NFL Red Zone. But I'm always like 5 seconds behind. So I'm like, so the more you fall behind, the worse you are. And I'm like, yeah, I did that. And then I go into there and they're like, hey, did you see that? And I'm like, it just
Do you
happened.
have WFAN over near you?
A what?
Or do you have WFAN near you or ESPN radio? Because sometimes they have it a little faster than the actual telecast. Or you can turn on the Amazon Prime app and watch it live on the app, and you can listen to it in your earbuds sometimes and have your phone like playing the game while you're not actually actively watching it.
No, well, I mean, I have the Sirius Red Zone, so I just listen to Red Zone. I usually just drive around and listen to it, or I'll put on Yahoo, because if you have Yahoo Fantasy Sports, you get to watch the games for free.
Okay.
I don't know if you knew that or not. If you have Yahoo Fantasy app, you can watch all the games for free.
Oh.
Interesting, because the Yahoo Sports app used to do that, but it's not doing it this year. So
Oh, really?
I'll have to check out the Yahoo Fantasy app then.
I'm pretty sure. I didn't even look at it because I was just riding around. We were so busy on Sunday. I don't even know. Like, this whole weekend's been a blur. There's a restaurant that right down the street from us that closes now on the weekends. And it's a pizza shop. So we're getting all their business. Oh man, good thing the cable. Good thing
we
the
have
cable
nothing
guy.
open on Sundays because we have New Jersey blue laws, so everything is freaking closed. That doesn't necessarily have to be open on Sundays. So,
Oh no, we were absolutely crushed on Sundays. We had 4 drivers and that was it. And it was mayhem. It was fun. It was good times. All the bosses showed up on Sunday and they were supposed to be off. Yeah. But sometimes there's nothing you can do when you get I mean, our deliveries are like an hour and a half old. That never happens. But they were all hot. Don't get me wrong; they were all hot. We don't toy around with our people's food sitting on the hot ovens for longer than 10 minutes, unless you're picking up. Then it's your fault because you should be here. So yeah, that's my Sundays usually now, just driving around and listening to Sirius. Like I said, if I got time, I'll take a glimpse at the game if I put it on the Yahoo Fantasy app. But Ted, you're saying it might not be there. I don't know. I didn't look. I tend not to look at when you have over 5 fantasy teams. You tend not to look till the end of the day and go, okay.
Yeah, you should also look into maybe like downloading a Steelers app or something. 'Cause sometimes the actual official fan page has like radio stations and stuff that will list all different areas where you can listen to the game for free.
I haven't tried it myself, but I saw somebody recommend the Dofu app, DOFU.
I heard about that too.
I think it was.
Yeah, but see, Dofu I wouldn't recommend as much because Dofu, yes, it has the YouTube links and a few other links, but usually they get reported almost as soon as they get popped up. So I wouldn't recommend that as much anymore because it's just you're fighting constantly to have the newest link work for you. So that's why I'm appreciative of Brandon and Jesse from Last Second Sports who are doing Get Playback, because it gives you an option that if for some other reason you don't have a radio or some other way of watching or listening to the game, it gives you that option where they're streaming it and you can have the account and log in through there.
Hi, Tom.
Hey guys.
Hi.
You want to talk 49ers?
Well, I'm late to the game because I was out, but I initially saw you guys were talking about Garoppolo and stuff, so I thought I could pipe in about that. But
Okay.
You
want to talk Jimmy G?
Streaming thing is something else. I'm telling you. Just get cable, man. You don't have to
Tom
worry
works
about
for
it.
Tom works for Comcast, so he's gonna say
It's
get
so
cable.
much
Okay.
easier.
You do realize that cable sucks balls, right?
Now when you
I'm
know
not
you
going
get
to
it
hold
for
any
free-
punches. We have Optimum here in New Jersey, and it sucks. I cannot tell you how awful it is that every time, whether it's NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox, whatever it is, can be perfect all day long. As soon as the football game's on, there's the freaking breakups where it's all gray and black, and then there's like the different lines, and then it's like the audio's off, or the picture goes out completely, or some other constant nonsense. But it's like whenever there's a national game on, the freaking TV has to act up. It doesn't matter what network it is. It doesn't
That's 'cause
matter if
everyone-
they're
that's-
streaming from MetLife itself, which is like just down the road or whatever. Like every freaking time there's a national game on, there's some kind of issue.
Do you
That's-
run into issues with streaming at all?
No.
That's
Nothing,
because everyone's
huh?
watching the
Just-
game.
And my
so-
my dad even bought one of those old school things with the 3 prongs, the red, white, and yellow, and it has the thing you put up that's like a big square that's like an antenna, and you can stream through like one of those old fashioned like things to watch the
Wait,
games.
I have
And
one
I
of the-
promise you, that gives us better quality to watch
Probably
the
get more
actual games that are local here than the actual cable does.
Well, I mean, I don't. What did you say? You have Optimum? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't work for them though. I know you don't want to.
Melissa, I know what you're talking about. It screws into your cable in the back, and then it's a long wire. But if you put it up against your window and do the cable scan,
Oh,
you
you're
can
gonna
get
make me
like
go turn my
wait,
lights
wait.
on. Give me a second. I'll show you guys.
It's
I
like
get
a
like
high
80
def
channels
antenna.
on that goofy thing.
Yeah, it's a high def antenna.
I get like 80 channels on that goofy thing.
Yeah.
I have one on my TV right now, actually.
But yeah, I initially saw, and I apologize for jumping in on your conversation, but I saw the Jimmy G and the Trey Lance. I was listening. I think you guys are.
Okay, I don't know if you guys can see that up there. The big white thing.
Yeah, it looks like a mouse pad. It's an antenna.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got you.
I have one of them.
I know.
And Melissa's going back to dark.
Yes, I am.
But I mean, I don't wish injury on anyone ever, regardless of who they are and all that stuff. I will say, just my opinion, and again, I'm way out here. I'm not in California like some of you guys. To win this year, you are far better off with Garoppolo than Trey Lance. Trey Lance he's not ready yet.
And he'll never get ready if that's the mentality that people have, though.
That's not
Same
true.
thing with the offensive line and the running backs. These guys are never going to get ready until you actually let them play.
How long did Aaron Rodgers sit behind Favre?
So what? And he still struggled that first year.
Who else did that, though? Aaron Rodgers is the only one who sat for 3 years.
Patrick Mahomes sat for 1 year and took off. This whole mentality that these guys have to sit to be successful is retarded. They have to see different defenses. They have to get hit. They have to have the high pressure situations to see how they're going to react. Do
you know who the last quarterback was that got his ass kicked as a young quarterback and put in way before his time that actually ended up winning? Troy Aikman. He got his ass kicked. Peyton Manning, ass kicked. You're gonna have to suffer through some really hard times if you're gonna play Trey Lance right now. That's all. Garoppolo can.
Joe Burrow was kicked his ass, and he still gets his ass kicked, and he got to a Super Bowl. Well, Justin Herbert's playing phenomenal, but the Chargers are just not ready around him. Like, push comes to shove, these guys can do elite things if given the shot. Lamar Jackson went 14-2. I understand the old school mentality of benching a guy and making him wait, but at the same time, we had that mentality when it came to our cornerbacks. We kept using these old veterans, the Richard Shermans, the Josh Normans, the Kirkpatricks, these supposed proven guys, and we didn't want to use the Ambry Thomases. We didn't want to use the Diamondor Lenores, and they kept screwing up because it'd be 3 and out, and we'd stop them. But then the play would go on because there was a big penalty. Like, sometimes you have to rip off the Band-Aid. Like, I understand not throwing away seasons and this whole sometimes the guys need time. But if you have that mentality for everything, sometimes what's the point of getting young players if all you want to do is just use vets because they're proven already?
Because I think when you mortgage your future to get a franchise quarterback, the last thing you want to do is put him into the starting role when he ain't ready. And Trey Lance, I'm sorry, you guys may love the guy. He ain't ready yet.
So, Tom, did you know that Trey Lance's offense racked up more yards in the first quarter than Jimmy G's offense did in the next 3 quarters combined?
Oh, I don't doubt that the offense may be there behind him. I'm simply saying that I don't think he's a winning quarterback yet. And if you guys want to compete for the NFC, Trey Lance is not the quarterback for you. Not right now.
Well, he's injured anyway, so it's a moot point. But I firmly believe, I will never believe that we wouldn't have been better off, especially by the end of the season, with Trey Lance at the helm and for the playoffs.
Okay, but everything has to be perfect for Garoppolo to succeed. I'd rather go with the young guy that will learn and grow and improve than go with the so you have constant wanting to pull your hair out, hope to God this guy is not an uber liability guy, and then have Trey in. So if that's the kind of mentality, I respect where you're coming from, but me as a fan, if I were to have the opportunity of a healthy Jimmy versus a healthy Trey, I'd always go healthy Trey, and I'd never look back.
Same here.
But are you willing to deal with the growing pains of
Yes, I'm that way with the offensive line. I'm there with the quarterback, the corners, everything.
The 49ers are not my. I'm just saying, if you're trying to compete with Brady and Rodgers and these guys out there.
But I'm not competing with Brady or Rodgers because Brady right now, his team's not that good. Aaron Rodgers, they're not. Look,
they're gonna win the NFC.
Chris Godwin got hurt again. Mike Evans is suspended again because he's a knucklehead.
Yeah,
Aaron Rodgers will not work with his young wide receivers, and all he cares right now about is his interception ratio and trying to at least tie Brett Favre and have 3 straight MVPs and to retire as a Packer, so he then beats Brett by doing that because he's never going to have at least 2 Super Bowl appearances. Like, the NFC right now is not that strong, and I'm not taking shots at the NFC in general, but just most of the talented teams are in the AFC right now. So it's not that I don't think that the Niners can compete or they can't get into the playoffs, even as a wild card or as the actual NFC West champions, but this whole Brady and Rodgers mystique, they're not the scary teams. The scary teams right now are the Philadelphia Eagles and how
Absolutely.
AJ Brown are playing really well. The scary teams are the teams that nobody thinks are going to come out, whether you actually buy that the Giants are a legitimate team right now or you don't, or some random team that always sneaks in there, whether it's the Bengals last year for the AFC, if it's Philly and the Cowboys both getting in last year. Like, who thought there was going to be 2 teams in the East? Like, those are the kind of teams that are make real headway because they're the ones that are hungry, that no one believes in, that band together, whether it's the Lions this year, whether it's whoever it is. Those are the teams that are more going to do a big blast in the playoffs, I believe, than teams like the Buccaneers and the Packers, who are just okay with competing well enough to get in, but not really doing anything while they're there because they've had success in the past. So,
Got to mention the Rams too. Even though they got worse, they're still going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, Rams will be kicking around, but I will say I don't consider the Buccaneers as trying to just get in and then falling off as long as Brady is playing this game.
But who's really there in the South to compete with them? The Saints are just cobbling together.
Yeah, no one. And that's why
the Panthers haven't won a game so far. The Falcons keep blowing the leads, and they have Marcus Mariota being a hindrance. It's like sometimes you need that somebody to keep you honest and to keep you fighting. And Tampa, not that long ago, most of these guys just won another ring. Like,
yeah, but I would say, like, when you say, all right, so Tampa's in an awful division, I agree. They're horrendous. The Patriots are in a horrible division for the 20 years Brady was here. So right off the bat, you're at least 2 games above 500 against your division. So you get a home divisional playoff game. And
are you a Patriots fan?
What's that?
Yes.
Are you a Patriots fan?
Am I a Patriots fan? Yes.
Okay. So you do realize that your former quarterback and your current very annoying coach are not built the same as everybody else around the league, right? Like,
I am well aware. Yes.
You guys are like uber spoiled, like, and it wasn't just like favoritism that you were always penciled in for the championship because you guys are just like promised the East always, and maybe the Steelers and the Ravens that would compete with you, and maybe the Colts or Broncos every once in a while, but it was mostly always the Patriots in the championship game.
Yeah, but you got to remember that, before Brady got here, tough sledding around.
I'm not saying that you guys didn't see bad times. I'm just saying that current Patriot fans have a very skewed way of seeing the league from other fans because you guys have
been around before they were good.
I'm not saying you weren't. I'm just saying
that's all.
Your perspective has been changed by those 9 Super Bowl appearances, 3 losses, and 6 wins. Like,
yeah.
You guys have been kind of uber spoiled.
We've been spoiled in all regards with sports up here for 20 years, for sure. I'm just telling you, as long as Tom Brady is playing in this league, he is. Okay.
I will tell you this right now.
He's going to be amongst the top 3 teams to win the Super Bowl.
And your city will forever love that man. But for me, I will never, ever think of Tom Brady as the GOAT. I'm sorry. When you guys still have to freaking cheat after 6 freaking Super Bowl
I
wins,
know,
and you're
no
still
other
freaking
team ever
filming
did
the
anything.
Bengals.
Here we go.
I do not think of you as the GOAT of anything, because that is pathetic that you have to steal and still film teams that are below you, because that is just who you become. You guys were cheating. Like,
Well,
why the hell are you filming the Bengals?
First of all,
Why the hell are you filming the Bengals?
I'm not
That
on
was
the fucking
before
team.
Garoppolo even took off. Like, that was after Spygate. That was after all the freaking Deflategate. That was after every freaking bump and bruise that got you into the thing. And it's not that you weren't talented. You just cheated because you wanted to. And you were still doing it after all those wins. Like, and you guys are still crying about how Tom Brady would give up 2 of those rings because he just wanted that perfect year. Like, do you know how many guys around the league would kill for even 1 of those rings? And he's still to this day saying that he gave up 2 rings just to have the perfect season with Randy Moss. Like,
I mean, you say you guys like I'm on the fucking team. I'm not.
fine, Patriots then. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm not. I mean, unfortunately, I'm not. But I will say this: the Deflategate nonsense and all that crap. Do I like it? No, I don't. Do I think it's stupid? Yes, I do. Do I think it was overblown? Do I think that every team in the league does something of some sort to try to get competitive advantage? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think that they overstep and push the rules in every which way? Did they get bagged? Yep. Did they do it again? Yep. I don't disagree with any of that. No, I don't disagree with anything. I will say Tom Brady is the best individual athlete in the history of team sports. And until...
So you're calling him the GOAT of all GOATs.
I don't ever use that term because it drives me nuts. But until another quarterback wins 6, then you can tell me...
7.
Well, 7. Get to 6 first.
Teams you can't beat, though, are in Melissa's area.
Get to 6. And there is not a single guy in the league, and I don't want to hear about Mahomes and Deshaun Watson and all these guys. These guys are going to...
Montana.
They're going to
Joe
run
Montana.
Joe Montana and Tom Brady even said that Joe Montana is the GOAT.
You do realize that there's never gonna be a quarterback that's married to a supermodel that will have the actual ability to take pay cuts to allow the team to constantly reshuffle and retool and constantly be at fighting peak. That's never gonna happen again. You're saying that unless someone ever outbeats Brady in championship wins, won't ever be the same GOAT. Those circumstances, what happened with the Patriots, is never ever going to be duplicated, no matter how good any franchise is from here on till eternity. That was just one of those weird cowboyish franchises where you took over for 2 decades and it's never going to happen again.
Oh, it'll definitely never happen again, but I don't think him winning 6 championships has anything to do with Giselle.
Hey, you guys, I gotta end the show, but we could talk backstage. I just have to. My battery's dying. No, I'm serious.
I didn't mean to cannonball your show.
Oh,
No, I don't care. You're fine. This is fun. I just have to plug my thing in, and it's in the other room. And
we'll go grab it. We'll keep the folks entertained.
Well, excuse me for being the hostess. I guess I'll just be right back.
You are the mostest.
I love Gina.
I love that girl. Anyway, yeah, like
And I hate to break it to you, but if I were gonna give anyone like kudos for being the greatest franchise besides the Niners and the Niner quarterbacks, I give it to Terry Bradshaw and the Steelers and Steel City. I mean, how can you not give it to them? They've been like the other most dominant franchise since the Super Bowl era ever happened.
I have no issues with the 70s Steelers. It was pre-free agency era, though. They kept that team intact because no one would leave. Why would you?
No, why would you? Why would you want to leave that? We had the best draft class of what, 72? What was that? Bradshaw,
lineup,
Lambert.
It's like the
Harris,
majority of the
and
lineup
Blyer?
is in the Hall of Fame.
Okay, so I gotta ask you, since I live in Jersey and I've heard it from the people around me situation, and I have a Giant fan as a father. Did you really go and whine about the helmet catch and the people that you're friends with, or did you just think that it was just one of those games that happens?
What, the Tyree thing?
Yes.
Oh, he caught it. What are you gonna do?
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't do that. I don't nitpick plays and stuff like that. No.
So you're like
I-
all Boston?
What's that?
So you're all Boston. You're Sox, Celtics, Patriots.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I grew up here.
Revolution.
Yeah. I don't follow the NBA necessarily. I want the Bruins and Celtics to win. I'm just more focused on the Sox and the Pats, really. So, yeah, but yeah, I don't really. I mean, I like Dallas when I was a kid, Tony Dorsett and that stuff, but yeah, pretty much just Boston up here. So, for me, anyway. There's a lot of people up here that don't necessarily care for Brady at all, though. I mean, I think the misconception, around that you hear like the national stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Brady's a god, and he is in a certain way. But there's a lot of people when he went to Tampa, they cut bait. I didn't, but they cut bait. So there's a lot of people that were huge Brady guys that when he left, they simply said,
So you're saying there's a bunch of people who acted like when Brett Favre left the Packers and they got sour about him?
So. Yes. Yeah,
and they especially hated that he won the very first year he was away from you guys.
No, I fucking love it. I love it. He never should have went anywhere. So you deserve it. Should have signed him, man.
Now, can I ask you a question? Do you think that we should stick with Jimmy Garoppolo just because he's a former Patriot?
No.
Mm-hmm.
No, I just think that he's a more sound quarterback than Lance is. Right now. I'm not saying Lance can't play. I just think right now, I think that he gives you a better chance to win. Or at least compete towards the NFC Championship than Lance would. And again, that's just my opinion. I'm not saying anything else beyond that.
See, but the thing is that Jimmy is not going to improve, and Lance almost certainly would, and that's the thing.
But that's because he's
maybe
a kid.
Jimmy's better now, maybe, but Lance would be better in just a few games for sure before the end of the season, for sure before the playoffs.
So, as a Patriot fan, what did you think of Edelman and McCourty and a bunch of players coming out and talking about how Jimmy kind of screwed you guys because he was more interested in protecting his future, and Jacoby had to go out with a broken hand and play for you that last game?
Well, I don't like when any players come out publicly and talk about what's going on their team, regardless of why. I don't like that gossipy crap. I think that if you can play through being hurt, then you play. And the overall opinion from those guys is that he could have, and he didn't. I mean, I don't know. I just don't like the gossipy stuff. There's no need to bring that out to the media.
Okay, so you don't like team business being brought out for
I don't like that. I don't like that. No, I don't like that stuff.
Okay.
I would rather just if it happened in the locker room and you guys feel a certain way, take it up with him.
So you must have really hated though when Mancini became the Jets coach and completely blew everything up and called out everything that happened while he was a Patriot.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a little different because Mancini kind of douchey what he did. I mean, You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of Mangini. I think a lot. It was like sour grapes attitude with him. You know, so. And I'm not saying what he said happened wasn't true or any of that. I don't really give a shit. But it's just like, I don't like the overall coming out to the national media about stuff. I don't think there's any reason to do that. Deal with it in house. Deal with it with the owner. Deal with it with the GM. Deal with it with the person specifically that you're talking about, as opposed to going to the media with it. I'm not a big fan of that type of stuff. There's plenty to say about the people up here. Yeah, they a lot of backstories and shit. So I personally just think that you should handle that within the franchise itself as opposed to going public in the media with it.
Well, it doesn't help that two of the most anti-Bill Belichick people both work for ESPN with Mancini and Rex Ryan.
Well, and then you have, what's his face there? Bart Scott was another. But, you know, that's almost on purpose, it felt like. Like, let's get more anti-Pats guys and put them on the panel. You know? But, you know, there's guys in the media that hate the Patriots for whatever reason. It could be the city that they are in, or, you know, their team got smoked countless times by Brady and the Patriots. You know, that happens, and I understand the frustration that a lot of teams must have, especially the AFC East. But I just feel that you should kind of, you know, if you're gonna spout off on, you know, as a media member like those guys, I mean, have a little bit of common sense, because it's not anyone else's fault that you get your ass kicked besides your team. Yeah, like, what are you gonna do?
So what do you think of the Patriots can't win in Miami anymore?
They've never been able to win in Miami, though. Yeah, they always have a tough time down there. It's bizarre.
You won once 3 years ago when Antonio Brown was there for like 2 weeks or something.
Oh yeah, like one of the worst signings in the history of the team. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the one time that you guys actually won in Miami, and then they beat you guys the last year, the week with Fitzmagic in Boston.
Yeah, I was at that game. That was a good time. Yeah, no, they just, for whatever reason, the Dolphins can suck every year, and they cannot win down there. I don't know why, but you know, it's just some teams have a, I don't know.
Streets are real.
It's called ownage.
Yeah, it's just like you can't do it. You know, they get their ass kicked in Denver all the time too.
It's like the Colts in Jacksonville. They just can't win there.
They just can't do it. And for whatever reason, I don't know. Sports are a funny thing that way. You know,
that was like us and the Seahawks till Sunday. That was the first time we blew the Seahawks out in over a decade.
Right?
Yep. Yeah,
that's what
they always had our number.
Well, it was funny.
2018, 2019, and Sunday.
Russ has owned your asses the whole time, though.
That's what I said.
17-4.
There's only been 3 wins under the Pete Carroll era since Russell Wilson took over.
And they were all
It's
close.
2018 in overtime with the night game in with Richie James having that huge
punt
return. 2019 with Dre Greenlaw making the goal line stop. And Sunday, even though Trey went down, that was the only time where the game wasn't even remotely close, because the Seahawks didn't have enough firepower to make a comeback, because all those other teams you were up, but then Pete Carroll just came back in and then stole the game. So
they also made 3 huge mistakes. They had the halfback option where the guy threw it right to Charvarius Ward. They had the illegal man downfield on the huge completion to DK. And they had Taylor had Debo dead to rights in the backfield, and Debo somehow peeled off a 51-yard run, and there was like 4 guys in between him and
Talanoa and Sean Gibson also were playing lights out too. So
yeah. Oh yeah, Huff was all over the place. I love 49ers defense. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for the show. But you guys can
Try
hang
that
out.
again.
Yeah, we'll try that again. We're gonna you can hang out backstage or whatnot. But thank you so much. I want to let you guys know there's a show tomorrow. We're gonna be previewing the Broncos Sunday Night Football game. And so don't miss that. It's going to be same time, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Driving to the Top Productions on YouTube. I hope you're going to join me as I rep my 49ers. And CG Ruthless will be here as well as Jeff Long, huge Broncos fan. Follow us everywhere. I've been showing at the bottom of the screen all of our social media where we're at, Twitch. Please subscribe on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, of course, and you can always find us on Twitter. So thanks, you guys, for joining us, for me and Adam. And Tom, thanks for jumping in.
Hey, nice to see you guys. Nice meeting you guys. Have a good night.
Have a good
Nice
night.
to meet you too.
Thanks,
And
Gina.
Melissa and Ted, tell everybody where they can find you.
You can see my tag right there, NJ49IZZY. It's the same on Twitter and Instagram. I'm on a show with CG Ruthless every Monday, 6 p.m. PST, called The Round Trek with Dion from Niner Gang Podcast and the Niners Hive. I'm always in chats, and every once in a while I'm blessed to be asked on to someone's show, whether it's Gina or some other channel. So thanks for having me on.
Thank
you
you
for stopping. I finally got to hear the voice that always talks in the comments.
Yes, I know. I talk a lot. That's the Jersey in me.
Well, no. Like, all I ever see is Melissa in the comments. I never, I didn't put a face to a name. Now
It's
I
okay.
have. It was nice
Just-
meeting you, though.
It's
Very
nice to
nice
meet you
meeting
too,
you.
officially. And on Twitter, I have a Trey Lance bobblehead because I am very lucky that my friend East Bay Chris made that for me after the draft.
Oh, cool. I love East Bay Chris. And Ted, where can we find you?
You can find me at TedH6 on Twitter. I also will be starting a YouTube channel myself.
That's
We'll be
awesome.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
It's going to be
Well,
called Ted Talks Ball. So
Yay.
pretty basic.
Is it going to be Niners or is it going to be like
Yeah, mostly
NFL in
Niners.
general?
Mostly Niners, but I'm leaving it open for other football. And then I'm a pretty big Warriors fan too, so might talk a little bit of hoops on there too. But mostly Niners.
You gonna join Brandon? Because Brandon has a Warriors podcast.
I don't even know if I know Brandon.
Brandon, he does for Forever Faithful podcast. It's part of the Hive Network.
Right.
Adam and I just had him on our podcast the other night.
Yeah,
very cool. I'll check him out for sure.
I'll tell him that you're a big Warriors fan. He'll probably ask you on himself.
Awesome, thank you.
I'm also a big Warriors fan, Melissa.
I know you are. Just I'm just
make it round.
It makes me a
Make
little
a big
sad.
circle.
It
Make a
makes
big
me a little
circle.
sad because Ted really is part of the Niners Hive family. Like they have him as like one of the main members, and it makes me a little sad that Forever Faithful is part of the Niners Hive family, and he doesn't know about him. So
okay.
That's why I'm trying to push the Niners Hive family more.
And Melissa
I haven't done
the
anything.
PR girl for the
to
family.
be honest,
She really is. She really is.
I've been on about 5 or 6 different shows, but never with Niners Hive. I've only written for them, so
okay.
that's probably why. I've been on with Jack Hammer and Gina and a few others.
So it's Zach and Matt run the main show. So
right,
they have
Standard.
Red and Gold Standard podcast, and then they have a secondary show called Forever Faithful podcast. It's with Brandon and Christian, and Dion comes on it as a main co-host
Dion.
most of the time.
Yeah.
Then
Brandon.
Then there's Joey who also writes articles like you do.
Okay.
He goes by Niner Analyst on Twitter, and then he's always like the guy making jokes and cracking up everybody because that's just who he is in the chat.
Nice.
There's Niner IO. It's AYO. I'm blanking on his name because I just know his Twitter handle. He's another writer as well. And then there's Steve Mullen Jr., who is the big graphics designer for all the Niner Hive stuff, who does all the stuff for the graphics. So there's a big Niners Hive family, and I follow most, if not all of them, and try to shout them out all the time because they're one of those like first real big group of people who kind of adopt me in the Niners Hive fan base and kind of gave me like that safe harbor, safe beacon place where I can come and listen to Niners talk without all the knee-jerky, hateful, kind of craziness that happens. So I have a lot of respect for them. And if you haven't listened to a Matt Lewin Niners rant, you have been missing out because there is no one who rants like Matt.
Zach was the one who gave me my start like a year and a half ago to start writing. He was the first
one. I'm trying to get Zach to follow me on Twitter, but he hasn't followed me yet. So,
well, I'll mention that to Zach because you are a really good person, and so is he. I feel like the Godfather now. Like you guys are making me feel like the Godfather. Like I'm gonna be trying out for like a Soprano show or something.
We need favors.
Hey, you're from Jersey. It's fitting. Goes with the territory.
There are, I guess, worse things that are associated with my home state than The Sopranos. So
it's a hell of a show.
Thanks, you guys. I appreciate you. And yeah. Tom, you guys, we'll see you guys all backstage.
Sounds good. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you, everybody who tuned in tonight. Fernando, Mama Deb, everybody.
Thank you all for everyone who joined in the chat. And don't forget to come back tomorrow. And next week, we'll do the overreaction show for Sunday Night Football. Want to remove everyone for me, Adam? Yeah. Thank you.